good morning again. I am Shawn Page. I am a licensed realtor in the Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas area with Reese Nichols. I also am a credit restoration specialist for UCES Services. Okay. And I'm happy to be here.
Shoot, you done added something since you've been here last.
Girl,
Okay.
See, I told you about that black magic now.
Okay. And Teresa?
Right. I am Teresa Triplett. I've worked at Honeywell for 40 years. Wow. So
Whoa.
I guess I'm the oldest one probably here in this room, but that's okay. I am a business owner. Over the years, just my affirmations, I just went for them. So different businesses through the years, I've learned a lot of things. To add to that, I've been a union rep, which I've been on the receiving end of people losing their loved ones. Mm-hmm.
And she's a green thumb.
All right.
I'm a gardener.
Oh, big time green thumb.
I'm coming to get some of that lettuce.
Girl,
it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
I bet. I am. I'm wanting some of that. So we're going to kick off this conversation just with Shawn, really just kind of sharing what life was like as a young married couple. Did you spend money? You save money? What that look like?
Woo!
Was you making it rain?
Hey. Well, first of all, I started early and started right out of high school and got married and moved to San Diego, California. So, of course, life is expensive, in California. Cost of living is a little higher. But my husband was in the military. And yes, I had no problem spending money. However, I was a spender. He was a saver, but we both like to shop. And with two young babies and him going off, to Desert Storm at one point, I made sure my children had everything, it was no limit. And we were there for 4 years. So, that part of it, I'll say we saved some, but also it was free reign, Then we came back to Kansas City, the first thing was, hey, I need to buy a house. I mean, it's like, we can stay in this apartment for 1 year. But of course, his mother passed away and it kind of delayed that. But that following year we did start. We probably saved more, but because our kids were growing in and out of activities and different things like that, we basically maybe tightened up. But still, I believe life as we knew it was always comfortable. I won't say that I was ever rich at any point, but always comfortable. We lived a modest life, but always available.
Like really modest.
Travel.
Okay, come on.
Okay, well, I'm just saying comfortably without, I'm saying we like to shop. We bought our first home in South Kansas City. Our kids were involved in all kind of activities, AAU, which allows you to spend a lot of money and be out of town a lot.
I truly know that one.
Yes. But I think just to be able to provide your children with that, there was no limit. We didn't allow our kids to be with anybody and everybody. We were there with them always, and participated, was active parents,
But I'm sorry to cut you off and go back to modest because I know you and I know that you like the finer things. I'm just saying.
Okay. And I guess I've never had a problem with that. I think mainly, I just feel like I was comfortable always that I was able to go buy what I wanted, but it was two incomes. And
Did you have any debt with there? So have you ever experienced any credit card debt?
Yes, I have. I mean, most of my credit card debt started when my husband got ill. And my husband got ill in 1999. And at that time, we didn't know why or what was going on. And he was finally diagnosed at the Mayo Clinic in about 2001. That's where I saw my debt change. I worked full-time, for AT&T, for corporate America, and he worked full-time. However, when his health started to fail, he had to change to part-time, and then we began making trips back and forth to Minnesota. Okay. Therefore, we were spending about a week or two at a time there, but still carrying on life and business here. I was able to take off, but you don't necessarily get FMLA paid for a spouse.
Right.
So that's where my debt began, because I, at that point, started using my credit cards to pay for our stays, to go to mail. Because no, the government and your insurance does not cover all of that. It may cover a lot of your medical, and you have the 80/20. But at that time, we had nothing to tell us that had to do anything with the military. So this is something that we were funding on our own. But I wanted to make sure that he had the best care. And to go to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, it was expensive. And we did that for a whole year. So therefore...
back and forth, staying weeks at a time, or a week. 4 or 5 days, whatever it was at a time. At $70, $80, $90, $100 a night, that can definitely add up.
Exactly.
Parking, food, but then I had to take care of whoever was taking care of my kids in Kansas City and still dealing with their activities, because we didn't want life to change for them if we could keep it that way. So, so that's where the debt and, our expenses change. And,
Good deal.
So looking back, do you think anything different could have happened? Because life happened, right? And things changed. And so then you had to adjust, right?
Absolutely.
So is there anything that, like looking back, could have been put in place to soften that blow?
Absolutely. At that time, because we didn't know how long this would last or what was going on, I think my main concern at that time was just getting his health. And it was like at whatever cost. Thank God I never had to mortgage my house or anything like that, because it never got that bad. But I think just knowing about... because it didn't happen instantly, but it happened gradually. If I had known about the military benefits or it had anything to do with the military, then I probably would have did some things differently. I would have started more earlier about seeing what benefits were available. And I didn't until I finally talked to someone, which was Ike Skelton, that this could have very well been related to the military. And a light bulb went on. And things changed. We were able to, take on some of those benefits. But just to answer your question, had I known this had to do anything with the military beforehand, I think I would have been in a better position.
Wow.
And just knowing those military benefits, like.
Absolutely. What I do want to say to our listeners, if you are a veteran or have any type of association with a veteran, get on the va.gov website. Benefits website is vabenefits.gov. Anybody can go on there, because everybody's benefits are not the same. You do have to be able to be eligible for certain things, because what I may be eligible for, and my husband was 100% veteran, others may not be. There's levels. There's 10%, 20, 30, depending on what your particular health benefit is or your need is. And if you also were in the military and don't know if your illness or, unforeseen circumstances related to the military, do it anyway. Get on that government website, because you would be surprised.
I have family members that are in the military or were in the military. And I have been told that if you were in the military, you have some type of disability coming out, like across the board.
Absolutely. And people don't know and they're afraid of it, but it's your due.
Exactly.
It's up to you to get out there and get the information. And that's why I'm glad to be here today, because nobody told me. And it was someone had to come to me and say, you may be applicable for some benefits. And by, the grace of God, because of that person telling me, then I was able to turn my life around, get benefits, and start back over again. And like I said, is I wasn't at the point where I had to lose anything. It was just like, whoa, what am I going to do now? You know what I'm saying? So thank God that those benefits were available. So if you are curious, definitely go out there. There's mortgage protection insurance for your house, because when you do have a ill spouse or loved one, you may not be able to get any additional insurance for pre-existing conditions. So if you were to get basically the mortgage protection insurance, you don't have to qualify, for physical, or because it's a pre-existing. That's one thing that would help you pay off your mortgage or help you with mortgage payments.
Yeah.
If you,
Yeah,
that type
if
of thing
something
people don't
happens.
know of, but that's important.
So we know that Michael passed in
2017,
4 years ago.
Mhm.
Time just goes so fast.
Wow.
And I just remember some of the life experiences because he had a lung transplant.
In 2003.
I will never forget that I was at work and Shawn called me crying. He got just they had found a donor and just, she gets so excited and will cry anything. She is her mama 12 times over, but just so excited about that. So I can just imagine the expenses of that. And then just life, all the different things he's needed over the course of the year. So how did life change in 2017?
Whew. It basically changed. I would say that when you have that type of illness, and even if you do get an organ replaced, you still have a life expectancy. And you live your life based upon that life expectancy. But when the Lord blesses you with additional years, you say, hey, that's borrowed time. We're going to live this life to the fullest. And again, we're shoppers, so we were back in that mode. And, my husband loves the finest things just like I do.
Yes, he did.
So, to purchase things that he wanted, again, it was not a problem because I feel like at that point, you're on borrowed time. So when 2017 came, we had talked about it. I mean, he was definitely always in and out of the hospital. And, hey, we need to make sure that these credit cards are paid down. First of all, we started just kind of working on that. I went back to work. As a realtor, I was working full time. But I'm like, hey, if things change, because I can't get any additional life insurance. So that's very important. If you don't have it, please get it.
Yeah.
You're hearing that from me, if nothing else. So I had it, but I didn't have as much on him as I had on myself. So with that being said, we started making changes, paying a little bit more, directly into our mortgage instead of just our interest.
That's good. That's good advice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
And I didn't need to live based the way that we were living when I actually accepted it. Hey, I didn't need these 2 car payments. I didn't need a cable bill that was out of this world because I wasn't at home. He was the one that was at home doing that. So with that being said, I changed all of that, changed my spending. Thank you, COVID. But I'm still able today to live my life the way that I did for me and by myself right now after just making some changes. And
so I'm curious on, cutting back as far as being at home and turning off lights and how big of a difference did that make in your utility bills?
It makes a big difference to me because, again, he was at home all day, which means he ran the washer, the dryer, he basically
watching TV,
lights on, taping his shows,
cooking.
I don't do all that. I mean, I'm in my house probably half of the time that he was in it. And so my bills are probably less than $100 for my utilities. Yes, I have a big house.
Right.
But again, I use my bedroom, my office, and my kitchen. So with that being said, my bills are minimum. And once I realized that and looked one day at all my automatic payments that was coming out, I was like, wow. And this was just me. This wasn't him. And he primarily took care of the house in its entirety. And I took care of Shawn. I mean, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound like that. That sounds bad. But really, I took my own car payment. I took care of my own insurance. And when Shawn wanted to go out of town with the divas or, spend money or buy things for the kids and grandkids, I did that. So I will say when he did pass, I'm like, whoa. I have to actually use my money to pay for bills. And so I immediately cut back because I'm like, hey, this is cutting into some things I want to do when I was getting ready to do that. But I was able to make that change, like I said, transition, cut off a lot of those automatic things that you haven't used or don't need to use. And that made a difference.
Yeah.
And I had to cut back on shopping until I realized, like, okay, now can I buy something for me? and I did that.
Yeah, I think you mentioned COVID. I think it did a lot for a lot of people. Like, you start assessing the things that you have, and I know for me, like, did I really need like 20 black T-shirts? Because I got a closet full of T-shirts, and you just start assessing, do I really need this? Do I really need to go that, do I need to have 2 entrees when I go out to eat? That's not me, but I'm just saying somebody might have that same, that problem right there.
Right.
But, it did make you, it gave time. If nothing else, we had time.
Yes.
To spend in our homes and reevaluate, do we really need that? And like, me and cable, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I can't even remember how long ago, I decided I did not need cable when that bill reached $200.
Mm-hmm.
I was the same way. Mine reached about $160. And since I was the one paying the cable bill, I was like, okay.
Gone.
And I don't watch that much television. So
I don't. It's me and Alexa right now. So I'm like, I have it for my grandkids, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have TV, but I don't watch it like that. My husband might watch it, and my son, my granddaughter, and really they're using a Fire Stick to watch the shows, and YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. I'm a YouTube junkie. Ask me anything, I can tell
You can tell.
all about it, but it's free.
right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And we all go to YouTube University when we want to know something.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So Teresa, you have shared, I want to say, experience with a number of people. You want to share?
Yes. Over the years, I am a union worker. Union contracts change. So with union contracts, you have insurance changes, so many life-changing events that if you do not keep up with all of the details, you can end up in a situation. I'll tell you a personal story that really I'll never forget. There was a little lady, and she was just like the joy of, I'll say, the plant, because that's what we call our workplace. And she asked me to go to the doctor with her one day. So I did, and we were not expecting what we were told. The doctor looked across to her and said, well, you have this kind of a cancer. We have to remove this, but your life will be sustained. And she did not really have a reaction. And he asked her, do you understand what I am saying to you? And she looked over at me and she said, Teresa, will you make sure my daughter is taken care of? And I said, absolutely. Well, that was the only question that she had. Well, she made it through the surgery real good. Everything went fine. But then she instantly went into a heart attack and then a stroke. So many things had to take place, and there was no power of attorney because it was pretty much just her and her daughter. At that time, I learned about social workers as far as the financial things that could keep going, to keep her going. And she woke up after 6 weeks. No one expected it. And she came home, and at that time we were trying to get everything in place financially and as far as the insurance and all of that. But then about 8 months later, she just had a heart attack and she was gone.
Wow.
So she had paid the ultimate on her insurance policy, but it lapsed after 30 days. And that part of it wasn't paid because her money was not going into the account that was automatically debited. So she was one day when, I knew her daughter would be taken care of, but that one day they said, well, she missed it by one day. And we're talking over $100,000. Her daughter was disabled. that was a wake-up call. She worked for, 30 years? 30 years she paid that policy till the ultimate. If anything was to happen to her, her daughter would be taken care of. Yeah. But guess what? She wasn't. And the fine print on every policy and, just insurance, other things that we have to deal with that we're not educated on sometimes. I'm realizing that even now, speaking to you, things change so much.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The laws, the insurance. One of the things that I've learned here recently is that, oh my goodness, your loved one knowing who to call. Mm-hmm. Not maybe if your life is terminated or, anything, an accident.
Yeah.
Making sure your loved one knows who to call, what to do, because a lot of things are automatically debited, like life insurance.
In one day.
In one day.
24 hours.
In one day. And if you're sick for any length of time, then that money's not going into your account while your spouse or your children or someone is trying to find out, how do we get this short-term disability? How do we get the long-term disability? The money stops. So if you have a life insurance policy and the money's, being debited out of the account and it stops and it lapses for 30 days, then the life insurance that you've paid for 30 years is gone. And that's kind of deep.
Just a little clarification though. So it had lapsed and she had like a 30-day period to reinstate it in order to not lose the policy. Is that?
Yes. It wasn't paid for 30 days, and I think October was 31 days. And now, yeah. So what I've learned with insurance policies and, working with people after they've lost loved ones is insurance policies a lot of times are unforgiving. They're in business,
right?
It's about a profit,
right?
Not about people,
right?
As well. The one day stuck in my mind forever. October, some months have 31 days. You have a 30-day grace period. Mm-hmm. One day from your disabled child being taken care of. That is an eye-opener. One of the things I really, really wanted to touch on, it doesn't always have to be a death that is a deep, life-changing event and illness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That direct deposit is not going into the account that the bills and other insurance policies are coming out of. And at one point, if you don't have a person delegated on who to call, names to drop, maybe even sometimes on the refrigerator, a list of things. If this happens to me, call this person on this day to get my short-term benefits started and make sure that this account stays where our life insurance policy doesn't go away forever, or we don't lose this or we don't lose that. Because when you're going through it, you're thinking about your loved one getting better.
Yeah.
And then everything else falls apart. Mm-hmm. And then you're dealing with 2 things and then 3 things. And then, oh my gosh, talking about a life-changing event.
Mm-hmm. And we just finished our estate planning. And one thing that's in that estate planning is that it is contacts for everything. And so you have your durable power of attorney for your health. And so a person, whoever you have as your power of attorney, there's a list of names and phone numbers. There's a list of bank accounts and passwords and all these different things that they can handle your business. And a lot of us sometimes feel like we don't have enough, per se, air quotes, to have that type of thing. But we all need that in place because we all got something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it may not be you have a lot of money, but you have children, right?
Yes.
So who's going to take care for your kids? Who do you want caring for your kids, because if the state steps in, it might not be the person you would have picked.
Yeah. Or or just the simple fact that you have
Seriously.
business that needs to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
Point being life insurance that you've been paying on. And if something was to happen to you.
Absolutely. I've seen people that have spent their entire lives making sure that their family is taken care of. But laws change so much. Even if you have a living will or trust, those things change. And I've seen
You got to keep them
the
up.
attorneys eat everything up, and there's not too much left for the family that the person has worked their entire life and made sure that they were going to be taken care of. So it's so many dynamics to this.
And us
the
staying
scenario.
on top of our business.
It is.
And knowing. Because a lot of times it's just for the lack of knowledge.
The lack of knowledge. But I was reading something the other day that just talked about spring cleaning your finances. So checking on subscriptions, checking on life insurance policies, your 401k. Does it still make sense to be contributing what you're contributing? Do you need to contribute more? Or can you contribute less? So it's kind of a annual review, and I like to do semi-annual because things change halfway through the year or something like that. So your bills could be different in the winter than they are in the summer. So just kind of making those adjustments a couple of times a year. So,
Absolutely.
but that one day, that is crazy.
25. Your life could. I remember a friend of mine said everything can change 24 hours, or God can turn things around 24 hours.
Yes.
Just your life can be turned upside down, good or bad,
Absolutely.
in 24 hours.
Hey guys, and thank you once again for tuning in to Let's Talk Money.
You can find us here every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Yes, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you will be alerted every time new content is aired.
Come on, y'all. Tell your mom and them, your cousin them, all of them.
Tell them all.
Tell them to subscribe and listen to Let's Talk Money.
Yes, and be sure to leave us some comments. Chat with us. We'll be chatting live at times, so chat with us.
Hey, remember, your money mindset matters.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.